Hello everyone, Namaste. Welcome to the episode 4 of DAL podcast. In this podcast, we'll be talking about the challenges and key lessons learned as well as success throughout our event and the project. So let's get started.
Thank you so much. As we were carrying out our project, we did face quite a number of challenges. It wasn't a smooth ride. One of the major challenges when I look back was as we were doing voice messaging service, as we were passing messages to our indigenous women, we did recognize that the concepts that we were trying to pass to them were a bit tough, and they wanted a relatable language for them to understand better and to appreciate it much better. At some point, we needed to translate our content, and this was not content that is easy to translate, especially to the native language, and to get somebody that is well versed with the language to be able to give the message quite clearly to them. And this delayed us quite a bit. It took us a longer time than when we anticipated to do that. Another challenge that we did face, which came out of a good thing, is that as we used radio to amplify the message, it got to quite a large number of people. So huge that even as we were carrying out our boot camps, people showed up a higher number than we had prepared for, than we had registered, and it was so tough to ask them to go back to their homes, and they came with all this anticipation, and it was so hard and so difficult for us to ask them to go back. We wouldn't have wanted to do that, but then we didn't really have the capacity to handle all of them and make sure that we deliver the message as good as we wanted to. Another challenge would have been as we were carrying out our activities, some of the things became more expensive and didn't really align with our budget in time. So there's a bit of budgeting challenges and implementing the thoughts, and the timing of finances sometimes became a disadvantage to our service providers due to some a few delays from our side and of course from sometimes the delay of funds from the donor as well. Just the timing not being what we had promised earlier became a challenge to us as well. Aiden, you have similar challenges as well?
Oh, okay. So, what was the biggest challenge for me? I think for us as a team, it was constantly shifting political environment because new laws and increased like shrinking civic space, and in this environment, it was hard for us as a small team of 5 people to keep up and stay safe and effective. So that's why, of course, there were a lot of strugglings and emotions and same things. A lot of journalists were detained this period when we were in the cohort 1 working on the project. So that's why, for me, it was really beneficial to speak with other participants as well, because I remember Nicole from Lebanon organizations, and they had war in their country, and I really was inspired how she stayed so positive. If you remember,
Yeah.
when
She
we
was
talked,
in a war, right?
yeah, when we talked with her, we're like, oh, are you okay, Nicole? How can we support you? And she's like, oh, just your presence supports me. And she was so positive, and I really felt powerful after speaking with her about the burning out and about how to keep your energy together in this tough situation. So, yeah, it was, I think, one of the biggest lessons I learned through the way because of the challenge. And yeah, what was your most the biggest lesson learned?
I think our lessons too draws back to one of the challenges that we faced as Development 360. Um, uh, I think I'll concur with what Helen said. Sometimes you'd plan out an activity timeline to implement some activities, but because of some delays from the donor and also probably clearance from the financial reporting, we faced a bit of a challenge and delayed to implement some activities. But then one lesson that I learned or that we learned as a team from that is that when you communicate on time to the donor to say, okay, this resulted from the delay that you have, they're flexible enough to like give you an extension. Of course, it's a no-pay extension because it already had allocation, but then they would have a stretch for you guys to allow you to implement those activities from your envisioned timeline. So yeah, that's one of the lessons that we learned as Development 360.
I think from my perspective, it is really different also. As per her, the linguistic barrier was one of the major problems for me, and I really think building a community or a collective kind of thing really help us because we can collaborate and reach to the different kind of individuals over there, and I feel that was one of the biggest challenges we face, and collaboration was the mitigation factor for us because collaborating with local government stakeholders and other agencies like CSOs, research, think tank and others, so that was really powerful help for us. So I want to listen from Habib as well.
Yes, I think not so much different. I think one of the powerful lessons that I learned during the whole process is that tech alone is not enough. Technology doesn't solve problems. We do. So community engagement, storytelling, are also skills that we actually use to actually solve problems. So thinking that would create technology and to solve the problem is probably not that. And that's one of the most powerful lessons. And I think another one is that collaboration multiplies impact. That if you are able to collaborate with different actors who have similar goals, it improves the work because there's strength in numbers. So I think those are the some of the lessons that I've learned that helped us because most of the successes that we had were from collaboration. Collaborate with journalists, collaborate with civic actors to amplify the work we do and all. So I think that's some of the most powerful lessons that I've learned throughout the project.
What were your challenges?
Of course, first technology, a lot of iteration, and that's what the lab's all about. Trying to launch, relaunch because there's probably a bug somewhere. So that's having those, and this is a project that have a timeline, so you have to work over time sometimes because of some challenges from the technical requirement. And for after building the technology platforms, the challenges of technical challenges, after trying to overcome them by trying to overwork, trying to communicate more with developers on our thoughts and all of those things. I think another another thing is the community engagement. It's not easy to engage with people without trying to make them empathetic. So when you need to speak to people, not at them, so that they can understand why they need to be more active, right? So that's one of the challenges we had. So many people do not really understand what we do or why we do what we do. So, but some people understand, and we try to improve with the technical partners. We try to improve our storytelling skills and ask them why we have issues with getting more people to come in to join us in the advocacy for us to have better governance. And I think these are some of the challenges that I faced.
When I was hearing you, I feel so identified with the problem of the language barriers because we are a small team. We are just like 6, 7 persons. Bilingual, our team is, we are two bilingual. So all the load of work has to be done just for 2 people, and was really difficult to try to finish all the tasks that this project needs, including the financial reports, the narrative reports, including the communication between the Digital Action Lab and our team, our students. Everything was really hard, but I think it's part of this challenge, because it's an international project, and that's a big challenge that we face in our country. Our main language is Spanish, so most of the people to find bilingual persons is really difficult. And other challenge that we faced is the self motivation. Oh my god, yes. Sometimes it's really annoying, all the things that we have to do. And sometimes, I don't know, you have doubts of yourselves during this process, like, no, I want to quit.
Exactly.
Happened to you?
It goes on your mental health actually, because there is so much work to do, just like you said. But to our advantage, we our first language is English, but then we are not so fluent. So you find that there are individuals who are just assigned to do reports, and they are dedicated to that on top of the other work that you're supposed to do. So sometimes it becomes overwhelming, and it can take a toll on your mental health. Like Habib said, sometimes you're required to work overtime. You do not even have time for yourself. So I mean, health first, and then you implement. But if you are down, and then the project is as good as dead. So yeah, self-motivation is one important aspect, but at times it will just vanish and like, will I make it past this quarter?
Okay, I'm sorry I'm jumping into it, but as you mentioned that we face burnout being bilingual, because we have to do lots of things done by yourself. But in case of ours, there is not only about having multiple languages. As we are working with the community, we need to know like 8 to 10 different languages that is spoken in the different regions and different community and provinces. So building the rapport, communicating with them, and getting the trust from the community and beneficiaries group was really a challenging task also for us. So that's how it is quite similar for us. And then regarding the burnout kind of thing, in order to mitigate burnout and having that self motivation, we literally made a learning corner where we gathered and share each other what kind of problem that we faced, and how can we mitigate this. And we also practices some kind of activities so that we can co-create things together. So that was really helpful in order to mitigate that challenge. So we can really relate with all the challenges that you already mentioned.
That sounds really good. And during this implementation, we have responsibilities in our organization before the Digital Action Lab. So this was an extra load in our organizations, So in our organization, we have to divide all the tasks that we have in our teams, in our different teams, and everything got, all the load was for a single person. And that affected us too much, because at the beginning we didn't know how to manage that extra load inside our organization, because the own projects of our organization still working, and later how to divide the responsibilities inside the organization. Was really happens to you?
Yeah, as well. I think the lesson that we learned out of it, because for our case, having that we have not done a tech project before, one thing we learned is that tech is possible for our target group, that is the marginalized people. But then we had to think out of the box, given that we have not done tech projects before. We needed to get and outsource the skills so that we could just describe to them this is what you want to achieve out of this, and then we leave it to the developer to do that aspect. If we tried to make ourselves learn the developing aspect, I don't think we would have ever managed to carry out these projects.
I really think this is reality for the most of us, like small organizations, when we have a lot of work to do. For example, for us, our main mission is to protect civil activists, and when there's so much arrests and you should protect them and do the project, it's always it's how you saying it's can be a lot. And I want to share a little like case. If you remember, I talked about foreign agent narrative that our government tried to push, that all of NGO and civil society organizations are evil. So because of that, when we finished our course and tried to collaborate with schools, some administrations were afraid to work with us, like, oh, you are from civil society organizations, maybe whose country agenda you're trying to push. Like we were so surprised and we were devastated, because something that our government people in power tries to do, they achieving its goal. But at the same time, when we talked with younger teachers, when they listened what kind of course we developed, what it consists of, they were like, yeah, we will do it anyway. And they went to other schools and helped us to actually spread it. So this was some interesting case when we faced what our government trying to do and what we want to share. But yeah, in the end, happy ending.
Okay. Another lesson that I think was key as we carried out our project is that it's good to mention that we did have capacity building sessions as well. And out of the capacity building sessions, we did recognize as an organization, as KU Women Trust, that digital transformation is actually important, and it's something that we need to look at as civil society organizations, because we do quite a number of work, but unless you involve technology to make sure that your stories are well kept, your procedures are up to standard, so that it's not it makes everything easy. But then how much time, or when do we think about digital transformation and allocate time and allocate resources to it? I think that came out strongly to us, and we are glad that through the capacity building we made some steps with digital transformation. I don't know if it is the same for you, Habib.
For us, because we were very, very quick to finish building our platform. Because what is much more important for us is to advocate for the promises. Right? So we were very, very, because it's something that we've been doing without having that sophistication. So we wanted to, we are giving the programmer a deadline of 1 month to get. We want the majority of our project timeline to be on advocating for the promises, because that's how we can actually measure impact. So we got a governor that promised to fix a road within 2 weeks. We added the promise to our tracker. So when I was going there to check, because it was also a coincidence that it's not far from where I stay. So I just moved with a motorbike, I follow and check. Say 2 weeks. When it's 2 weeks, 2 weeks was up. We sent a letter to him. 3 weeks, nothing. So we started a campaign. 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks, 6 weeks, 7 weeks.
That's a lot.
So we were putting. We said we are not going to back down. And I think around the 9th or 10th week, he came with some tractors, and we also videoed and posted on our listen that okay, yeah, the contractors are here, and that was one of our major success from the Then I think that, as I said, advocacy works, but we need more collaboration, more voices. We are work, we are in the global south, and we have people who want to just do everything they want. They are unaccountable. We have unaccountable leaders, so we must be creative in how we deal with them, and that's our own mandate. We want to use social media, letter submissions. We want to disturb them. If we can use the court, we use the court, and yeah, it was a great time learning challenges and creating and understanding the whole concept of and on digital transformation, right, was also like one of the major thing of the major one of the major thing we had changed many things. Like we have work dry before we just put our documents everywhere. We're able to, even our social media, we had to rebrand the social media, and we had a lot of trainings that actually improved the work we do digitally. Our emails, we had signatures now, automatic signatures. We have, so it was a really defining time being at the Digital Action Lab for us.
I want to know a little bit more about the project of Ahmed, because he developed a really interesting and I think it is really important app for activists.
Yes.
And it's really good for us. So Ahmed, could you explain more about your app and about your digital transformation process?
So after the revolution in Lebanon in 2019, many of the activists got arrested because of their communication means. So their application was hacked. Even as an organization, we have a very interesting website about Beirut Plus called Beirut607.org. It was hacked 5 times. So that's why we thought maybe for activists to find for them digital solution, and that's when we saw the call for the digital action lab. It was actually the moment where we can match our ideas to a very useful program that we found online with civics.
That is a really important application. I want to have it. I want to have it. I want to be part of that chain, because it's really good for our organization to the way of we communicate our information and keep it safe. That is the thing. It is really important. You were mentioning something that I really want to go deep, is measure the impact with our projects. That's a really big challenge that we have, because how you measure, for example, a theater play, the way that the students keep the knowledge that we share with them, how we measure, for example, how we manage the information that is really important for us later, how to share that information. So I don't know, for example, with your project, how you measure the impact in with your people.
Yeah, I think for us it was a little bit easier to measure because our goal was actually to spread the information. So the goal is to achieve as much people as possible. And within 2 weeks, when we finished recording and cutting our course, which consists of 36 lessons, really cool, really engaging. 2 weeks and already 400 people registered to this course, and 200 people already finished it after 3 weeks. So really short time, and even though our target audience is young people, so even though most of them, like school children, teenagers and students, had exams, they took their time to take this course and go to the finish line and take the certificate. So it was great for us, and we did some tests to measure how much did they know before the course and after the course. And yeah, it was there was really good results on it. But so for us, it's a little bit easier. But what about project? I'm really eager to know how Luis measured his project because he worked with the local communities. So maybe you can tell more about it. And then you can say thank you, Luis.
Okay, thank you so much, Luis, on that. And talking about my scenario, the impact evaluation that we have been doing is quite different from learning corner to interactive map and workshop because all of them have different kind of objectives. So the impact evaluation is deeply related with the objective that we have set. So for like workshop and training kind of thing, we definitely did something like pre and post evaluation survey so that we could figure out how much percentage got to know about these things. So through activism workshop and other training, we did impact evaluation through questionnaires. And regarding the interactive map that we developed, we evaluated through the people who are accessing the research that we have integrated into the interactive map. So how many people are using those things and how many people are reaching out to us regarding the creative and legal aid. So that's how we are developing or evaluating the impact in our project. And till now we have 15 social movements that is embedded in our interactive map, and it's still ongoing because movements are happening in the country day after another. So that's how it's going on. So I would like to know about how you are doing impact evaluation in your project.
Oh, thank you very much. For some of the activities that we do, the impact is actually measurable, but for some we can't. So I'll start with the ones that we can't measure. Reason being is because the project was creating structures for young people that were being ushered into governance structures from grassroots level to the district level. So entirely, our idea was to create this platform for young people and then allow the government to do the technical know-how of how these systems run from inside. So when it came to like how many number of children or young people are sitting into those structures at community level, we couldn't really measure in terms of reports or statistics because we're not the ones running the show. It's from the government side. And I think most of you would agree that the governments don't have detailed structures of writing reports, doing registers, and all those things that we keep track of as a part of evaluation measuring impact. So that's one of the challenges that we've been facing. But from our end, we've been able to measure impact by graduating some of the participants that underwent the Digital Literacy and Leadership Academy, so skills building, and also how they're able to apply that using the digital devices at the hub and also their personal devices. So some also wish to open like a small print shop where they could do photocopying and printing as they envision while they're still fundraising for some funds to open up such shop because we're not offering like startup kits as they graduate. So yeah.
Wow, I'm so curious because we were talking about digital projects, but what about you, Helen, with your radio station? How you measure your impact with a radio station? It's something that I have in my mind. No?
That question is a challenge to us. So, being this being a digital action lab, as KO Women Trust, we did have both successes and a bit of failures in terms of measuring impact. At first, there were indicators that we had put as we were planning the project, and quite a number of them worked for us to measure impact. For instance, the number of women that we ended up training directly, maybe not through the radio, but directly physically, we actually surpassed that number, which was a success for us. But then we had other successes that we cannot measure for sure. For instance, it can only be estimated the number of people that did listen to the radio, but we cannot ascertain that for sure. We are just positive that they listened because we were getting feedback as the show was ongoing. So we just positive that they did listen, and also out of the following actions that followed out of those trainings. For instance, we have public participation forums that do happen at the very local level. They're called barazas, where you just go and attend. That is where you actually, the people in the village, that is where they hear what the government is doing, what development is happening, what projects or programs are coming next to them. That is where exactly they're going to get information, and also give their feedback in terms of public participation. That is their closest. So what happened in our scenario is that we did get feedback that there was a sudden increase in the number of women that started attending these public participation forums. But similar to Zambia, this is only a word that we hear from the chief. But we cannot get those statistics. How many were attending before and how many actually attending? We just hear there's a sudden influx, and when we asked, we were told it's out of the trainings that you guys carry out. So it's a positive thing for us, but in terms of measurement, that was quite a challenge for us. And we just are glad that out of it, as the local government saw the influx, they did appoint one of our trainees as the assistant chief. That to us is a success, because we wanted to bring women leaders, we wanted to increase participation. So we did actually achieve that. But in terms of measurement, I'd say that was quite a challenge. Habib, this should be easier for you.
Yes, of course. For us, I think one thing I've not spoke about is that our project also have a big component about community engagement. So we had young people, we trained them about different for weeks, different topics, just like but we had live sessions, recorded sessions for people who missed it. They can go to the platform and after. But how do we measure if they know what we've said? Or so we had to we had to gamify it. So there's a leak system where you take a point when you answer a question, you take a point and you'll be seeing your names front like weekly. Somebody's winning, and just like how they play football. So we had them, and it was engaging for them because they wanted to see more points. They have 3 points this week, 4 points this week, and we tell them, okay, if you engage, if you have used an hashtag or this thing, you can send us. We can give you more points for being for participating. Like if you have used some of these things that we send it to us, we see what we have done with it. We would add more points for you, and we are going to give the winner at the end of the 38 weeks. So we did like a football match. So the more you do your football, the league system, the more you participate, you send to us. We see that you have tagged your governor, your community, you tag him to this on your Facebook or your social media views. We see that this issue, we verify, we give you a point. And so it was really interesting. And again, everyone say, you have not added my points, you have not added my point, because of course the big technicalities doing all of those things. And so it was also one way that we used to measure our engagement in terms of community. For our project, we track promises. So the number of promises that we track, because promise tracking it's like advocacy. It's a marathon, right? It's endless. You continue to track, advocate, track, because there are a lot of promises. But we just would say that because we track almost all the promises, all the old promises. So you cannot measure by the number of promises tracked. That's not a good way, but a good way is during the 8th month we were able to move a promise that was broken to being kept, and that's a great that this works, because as you say, we're in a lab, so that means it works. So we can scale up. We can, if we have more resources to increase our voices on TV, on on national, it means that it works to actually track promises and advocate for it. So I think that's it from my side. What about you, Andres? What's it like in
Yeah, for
I know in Colombia, um, there are a lot of issues, and because I called you one day and you said, oh, there was conflict, and what is it? How did you manage to?
Well, I think in my country, something that happens is it's divided right now because the different political issues make that you are or left party or right party. So try to communicate this kind of topics is really difficult by social media because we have some kind of repression in social media. Some of our content is banned, so we try to promote it, and after 3 days was down. So it's complicated to try to talk about this kind of topics. Other thing that it happens is that people usually believe that if we talk about politics, we are related with one specific political party or one specific politician, and that affects us too much because our idea is try to be neutral. But how to be neutral when you talk about politics is a really hard question. The way that we try to solve it is that we make interviews with the different points of view. So we have left party or right party in our conversations, and we try to generate a space where the people of different points of view try to generate conversations during using the comments, using the direct messages, and we have, for example, sometimes like hard comments in our text box, and how you talk with those persons, because if they talk with hard words, we can answer soft, we can answer, try to be politely correct, but we want that they still participating. So how you manage that? That was a big challenge. More in social media that is controlled by private corporations like Meta, I don't know, TikTok who control it. But how to deal with that is a big challenge. And talk about the processes that has my country. We are finishing a war that lasts 50 years. 50 years. Now we are creating a peace agreement. How to deal with a peace agreement that the government and some persons doesn't want to follow, and how to talk about what happened in our history in those days of war was really difficult. That is something that we are facing right now, because now after those 50 years of war, we are understanding what happened, and that reality is hard. If all the hard situation that happens during the war, how you can teach them, for example, to students, because when we talk about, for example, the Second World War, we know what happened. We know what happened in Germany, in Poland, but later they start to create like methodology to talk about it. No, the history. Now with something that is so recent that affects a lot of politicians in this moment in Colombia, how you talk about it? That's the question that we are facing. Our puppets are making a good job because puppets cover the faces, the identity of the persons who are talking, right? They became a symbol of try to be neutral, but they became a symbol of politics and democracy, a way of knowledge. But that's a big challenge that we are facing right now.
Yes.
Exactly, Andres. I think censorship is one of the biggest problem working in to those who are working in digital transformation and integrating digital spaces in their work. So, wrapping up this our conversation, we can So, wrapping up this conversation, we can say to our viewers that with whom we can collaborate. So, we can give one example with that. So, starting from you.
So I would recommend that if you're working on a project that involves local governance structures or the government, it is best to pay homage before you start implementing, because one way or another, if you don't do that, they will frustrate your efforts and you might just delay or mess up your project. So it's always important to pay homage to the local governance structures in your country or in your home. So that's my recommendation. Thank you.
Yes, for me, I think that it's important that if you are working on any technology software for civil society, you think of security from the first day, because there are a lot of actors that do not want it to, they might not even be sent by anybody in office, but they are just happy followers as well. So it's important that you think of security, use the best of security for your platforms, your mails, your just invest in digital security. And yeah, that's it. Aiden.
Well, like listening all of you guys, I want to share maybe a little bit unpopular opinion, but I think that sometimes it's really hard to measure some things, and real beauty sometimes hide in these things. For example, um, you like all the civil society organizations around the world doing such an important job, and of course the changes requires time, and sometimes it's really hard to measure what kind of impact your particular project do, but it does. Even a small one, even just trying to make a bigger participation of the woman in political situation, or even just to teach kids and teenagers and young people. And I think maybe we cannot measure the impact right now, but it definitely has an impact. So my advice, yeah, we're sharing advices. I want you to not forget what important job you're doing, and to not burn out. Yeah, it's gonna.
For me, I will highly recommend having a space in your office or in community or anywhere where you can be yourself. You can share the burnout feelings or any kind of emotion where there is no any kind of fear or judgment, so that one can have the communal power together. So I think sharing or having a good bond with each other will really help succeeding in any kind of initiative that you have.
Okay. I think that it's important to understand the environment that you are going to intervene to avoid problems. Yeah, because we want to create changes, right? But if we don't know clearly how to avoid those situations, it's really complicated. We can't change things one day to another. So we need to understand first the context and later step by step. We need patience to be patient. Yeah.
Very relatable to that. I'd say as CSOs, even as we are getting into digital transformation, it is important for us that we think about who we are serving. So who is the end user? Are they going to benefit out of the digital tool that you are putting it out? And I think that worked for us, because in as much as we served indigenous women, we did recognize that we needed partnership with the local media, which is something that we are kind of almost forgetting that is actually a means of communication, and a very active one for that matter.
Okay, I think that we have a nice conversation of the today.
Thank you.
Yeah, we learned a lot, and well, see you in the next episode.
Congratulations on your achievements.
Yeah.